In true chaotic fashion, Bitcoin is breaking up as society is breaking down into civil unrest. Folks, this is the unfortunate prediction here in the blockchain basement coming true right before our eyes. It is unfortunate, but one fortunate thing that we have today, not only is our bags pumping, but I got my man Isaac back on the sticks. What's up, dude?
What's up?
Everyone thought that you died, so
I'm not dead.
Do proof of life on you here.
This is a proof of life check. And as I told you, when I was hanging out with you the other day, that I was just going to come here, do a proof of life, and then disappear.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to drag you back on. We're going to talk about graphene. We're going to talk about Solana.
No, we're not.
We're going to drag you back out here now. I'm just kidding. I'm really glad to have you back, Isaac. And just so what were you out there doing? Because it sounds like you're spreading the word of God somewhere.
Yeah. No, we were at my church up in Atlanta, Mount Perrin, under the Church of God. We were at a youth camp at the Legacy Center or the Retreat Center. And we were there for a week, high school and middle school. I was with the middle school all week. It was a great time. It was tons of fun. Our team lost first place by 800 points, which is the smallest in camp history that anybody's ever lost by. So that was it was a pain, but it's okay. We're back. I've been itching to be back in the office. I'm ready to get back to work, get back to the charts, and get back to the dwellers. So
yeah, man. Well, the charts are being violent today. Let's hop on over here. So early this morning, we had U.S. and China set up to hold talks, and I believe this is happening, during today, of talks with China in London to kind of get a better deal going between the two countries on trade negotiations. Right as this news broke out, then so did the chart, man. And I'm glad I didn't give up on my bullish outlook of Bitcoin in this range. You're damn right I did not. I don't trade Mondays, but shit, I'm regretting that right now because we absolutely ripped this 4-hour candle just on the news of no verification, but further talks with China and Trump pumped the market by about 2% today. Now we're seeing if we can continue the juice. The MACD is coming up, but there is a lot of pretty big news coming up. And in general, man, trading has helped me, ignore the lull in the altcoin market. It has been, a comparative season of profits for me to March of 2024, that kind of momentary pump that we got on. But, another thing, we're going to be talking about a lot of altcoins because the trenches are heating up. Isaac, did you see what Avalanche's ecosystem is up to this weekend, Isaac?
I have not. Please enlighten me. I'm interested. I've heard you say some things about it, but I haven't gone into detail with you or anything.
Yes. People doubted Avalanche. People doubt it. They're all chasing around their Solana stuffs, but here's 200% on the arena. Boom, boom, right there, 200%. I got into this thing in about early April. So, honestly, it's been pretty great. Pretty great from April. But, Avalanche, it's being pretty loud, it's being pretty loud. And I'm excited to see the Avalanche, ecosystem, especially the arena. One thing that's aggravating about this is that we can't multi-stream to the arena, Isaac. And I've been just trying to focus on giving value to our Discord. But I am trying to work with the devs to figure out what the heck's going on with it so that we can stream our show to the arena. Also, Isaac, we're still blowing up on Rumble. Rumble's going great. Shout out to everyone that's watching on Rumble because you guys are incredible. We're getting 5 to 30,000 views on our shows out there on Rumble. And we crossed a pretty important line for our own subscriber count. I'll go here. Let's see here. I'll type us in here. See how blockchain.
See how shadow banned we still are.
Yeah, pretty shadow banned. Okay, there we go.
That's not bad.
So we're at 79,000 subs on YouTube. So make sure if you're not subscribed to go ahead and click the subscription button. And if you are out there trading with me, we got links in our description. Here, I can mute this and click into it. I don't want it to play the sound. Just click into this. And if you want to get great deals in terms of Arculus cold storage wallet, you can also take advantage of our connection to Bitcoin IRA. Let them know the basement sent you here. Click at Bitcoin IRA, and this is for long-term thought process, man. Long-term thought process where you should be with your Bitcoin. Call 877-936-7175. Again, 877-936-7175, and tell them that the basement sent you. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
For God's sakes, tell them that the basement sent you. So now that all that housekeeping is done, we're going back to the trading side. I was looking at this in the Discord with Kelly this morning. I'm still being greedy. I could see myself taking a low amount and going in there on a trade if we get the 106.5 washout, kind of these two local peaks here. Main thing I'm watching, though, is this main POC at about 105.5. Let's check out, because things are hot and heavy right now. I got to look at the Bitcoin charts. Things are on fire. Is it escaping? Is it too late to YOLO 30x and make another 10 G's? Let's find out. So we're at 107.8 right now. What do we got here? World War 208. I don't know why people who are talking about looting in LA when Powell has been looting my altcoin bags every FOMC. Facts. Big facts there. And honestly, the beatings look like they're going to continue until morale improves from Jerome Powell. But we know at a point, here's the thing. Let's just condense the macroeconomic environment right now in a few simple sentences. Is that if there was any monetary responsibility within the Federal Reserve and they enacted on that responsibility, they'd be keeping rates high. But they've changed the game and how statistics are taken in on inflation so that they can artificially keep things steady at where they're at right now. And they need to lower the interest rates over the course of the next year to refinance $7 to $10 trillion of debt. Then hook them back on up and continue the Ponzi scheme on down the road. That is what's going on right now. It's a very, for people that come in and they look at this market with a level of reasonability or responsibility, they're like, why would they lower rates? Why would they? That's the reason why they need to refinance the amount of debt that's coming due over the next year here. It's about 7 to 10 trillion bucks. Let's go back to Bitcoin. Now, 107.8 is where we're at right now. We are inching very, very closely to a breakout point. I believe our high was about $111,886. So where we're at this, previous kind of turbulent zone. And if you map this out, I mean, if you're looking at this on the 4-hour, it makes perfect sense that, you're running into some turbulence that's lasting between all these different levels here. So as things sit right now, I don't have my indicators flashing to be able to go long. And I do leave Mondays alone in general. Didn't see the Trump trade negotiation coming so early. I was actually in agreement with CryptoFace. CryptoFace put out a great tweet over the weekend here. And I think CryptoFace is looking for the same thing that I am here. Where is it at? Here it is. So CryptoFace said, long everything this week. He smells a Trump-China trade deal type bull action. This type of confluence would push us, in my opinion, above and beyond the previous all-time highs. And CryptoFace is talking about the same thing. He's one of the best traders out there, only to be outdone by Nancy Pelosi. And she's got an inside track, right? She's got the inside scoop on what's actually going on there. So I do want to look at the rest of the market here. What is up, Johnny December, member for 15 months. And also I talked to TJ. We're working on the level of major discounts that we can give to blockchain basement OGs to get access to the entire ecosystem of the Discover Investments Group Discord. I'm pushing for as much as possible to get people in there. And you guys can use a LBank, create an LBank account and give me your UID. And then I can get you in for free on the trading account. What you got, Isaac?
No, nothing. I was just pointing at the LBank. But yes, thank you all for the patience. Thank you all for your patience. It takes some time to get these things done. So, but it's in the works, and it's going to be great.
Absolutely, man. It's been on the top of my mind. You guys are what make this channel so great. Now, here's Tech Dev talking about people are arguing if the top is in. Meanwhile, liquidity-weighted business cycle indicators are bouncing off of this old school trend line. And now this, it ties into like the M2 money supply, but this is liquidity weighted business cycle measurement here. And it does come in pretty good confluence with market peaks. And where things sit right now, I think it's healthy for us to look at the Pi cycle top indicator because we're surrounded by so much noise of people out there saying that the top is in, that's it. That's all we got. So I'll go full screen here. It's going to look a little weird for a moment because we're going to the Pi cycle top indicator. I get tired of bears constantly coming out of the woodwork. Every time we have like a 5% pullback on Bitcoin, see the top's in. And I ask them, are they shorting? And then they go silent because they're not shorting the market. They just, and I get it. I want lower entry points on Bitcoin too. Where things sit right now, very, very bullish. There is tons of room between these two moving averages. So this is my general, am I longing or shorting the market in aggregate? I am currently longing the market in aggregate. And when these two signals do cross, then I will be shorting the market in aggregate. But Tech Dev giving some interesting insight on this. And with this, we've seen aggravation in the altcoin sector, and I can understand because my altcoin bags have been flat, for a few months now, except for those, I see some great stuff coming out of the Avalanche ecosystem. And Morpho doubled from that entry point. So that's great, but not that massive altcoin season blow off that, historically we've seen in markets past. I think what we're looking at on the Bitcoin price is a calm before the storm. And something that it was most impressive to me last week, in case you missed it, was the monthly green dot. It is printing a secondary monthly green dot in the upper band of this vault of the momentum wave here. So this is getting pretty serious. Almost as serious as the rain. Do you hear? We have like a tornado above us right now.
Yeah, dude.
Should we look at the radar?
Yeah, why not, dude? It started
Let's look
pouring
at
out
the
of
radar.
nowhere. I was
Hold
like,
on.
what's that sound? I take off my
Hold
headphones
on.
for a second, and Jesus Christmas.
Dude. Oh my Lord. Do you hear that? That's let's see if we're about to die. Are we gonna die? Hold on. We're getting sidetracked, guys. Okay.
We're
getting sidetracked.
If we're not being sidetracked in the basement, are you really watching the basement?
Oh my God. I'm not in my kids are in the basement. Okay, where the hell are we about here?
So what, Powder Springs over there, a little left is to Marietta. We're closer to the Marietta side.
Yeah, let's see here. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, we're about to get
it stops giving us the juice. Why did it stop giving me the data? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So right about now, we're going through it right now. It doesn't look like it'll last too long. Hopefully, we don't get by a hurricane. Hopefully we don't get or a tornado rather. Man, adult autism unlocked. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
Does this thing say Avalanche is at $24? Hold on. Let's see here.
$20.
Let me see this. I want to see. Dude, it is it is coming down hard. Oh my God. Is there a tornado outside, Tim? Oh my Lord. All right, so the Bitcoin price is correct. Also, if you want to get a ticker box, we got a link in our description. We finally got a link in our description. If you see the background disappear behind Drew, shit got serious. This is a real background here. AVAX 21. I don't know what
I haven't been able to do this in so long. I've been itching to do it.
Oh God, what?
You are banned!
Oh no. Dude,
the Emperor is back. You're banned.
Oh, I'm sure that felt good. Hey, so is it like a tornado outside, DJ? Or? Oh God. Okay. Yeah. Chaos has begun. Also, chaos on leverage trading. Someone opened up a $50 million long on Bitcoin, not retail money. Apparently, but we saw James Wynn out there moving this amount of money on longs. We still don't know if it's James Wynn has insider info, because now he's posting trades of $400 of donated, USDC. So someone's thinking that this is informed conviction of this person taking the $50 million long. When I'm looking at the chart, I'll go back to this. So we got the green monthly dot. And some of the biggest key here that I take away from this monthly chart is the money flow is starting to move pretty aggressively to the upside. And, when I look at this thing, this shows multiple cycles here. I'll pull this down so you can see price action. So this is the 2017, 2018 bull market. This money flow movement here. It never really went down to flatline. This is the secondary, the 2021, not secondary market, but most recent bull market. And now what I think we're looking at here on the monthly chart is the very beginning of the next phase. And I do think that money flow with all the institutional interest All of those things happening. The money flow wave, I do think, is going to breach this 29 level and move into the 30s. Now, 40s, I don't think so. I think, lower 30s, but a higher level of money flow than we've, seen in cycles past is what I'm actually expecting for Bitcoin. And seeing these massive $50 million leverage longs, it's not rocket surgery if you're looking at this, because we've only had this signal on the weekly go off 3 times this entire market. And we are cooking on up to my generalized target. So, and this is just for anyone new that's getting into trade and wants to, kind of get where my mind's at on where price is going. Because I know that that's the main point. Where the hell is price going? So on this green dot that we printed back in September 23, to the point where we started printing those secondary get out red dots, we moved up by about 180%, 190%, depending on where you're measuring from. This secondary green dot printed, and then we had the red dot get out message, and then the secondary red dot get out message was at 90%. So we had 180 to 190 right here, and we had 90%. I am of the opinion that we're going to see out of this current signal more upside to the degree of about $140,000. That's what I think. I'm diminishing the expectation on this pump from this current realm that we're in. And I could easily see this going to around $135,000, $140,000. But these signals take 3 to 6 months to play out. This furthest back one during this market in September 23 took 180 days about, and then this one took 3 months. So I am really looking over the next few months for that major move up to 130K. Thus why I'm waking up and looking for long entry points every single damn day. It's just on Mondays, it's a little hairy. I've learned to, I win more when I trade from Tuesday to Thursday. That's my personal approach to the market. And everyone's got a different approach, This is an interesting approach for Bitcoin. Sovereign wealth funds are getting ready to buy billions of dollars in Bitcoin. Here's the Mooch Scaramucci talking about the biggest players across the world and their approach to Bitcoin.
Until we greenlight legislation in the United States. So if you tell me before the end of the congressional term, we've got a stablecoin regulation, we've got guidance for money center banks on how they can custody Bitcoin and other assets, and we have some discussion about the tokenization of stocks and bonds and other assets, then I will tell you that there'll be large blocks of buying, or there are people worth 10, 20, 30 trillion dollars buying $500 million of Bitcoin, buying $1 billion of Bitcoin. Yes. Are the people on the margin buying Bitcoin today? Yes. But if you want to see $1 million Bitcoin, that's when somebody at a sovereign says, okay, this is part of the infrastructure of the world's financial services architecture, a result of which I have to own some of this property, I have to own this rail system. And they try to establish 1, 2, 3% positions in their portfolio. And so again, I think you're with me on this, where this is my position, Brett Messing, Skybridge Capital's position, that Bitcoin is an asset class. If Bitcoin's an asset class, then it trades $20, $30 trillion in market capitalization akin to gold. If it's an investment, then it will be in the $1, $2, $3 trillion area alongside of the Mag 7 stocks as an interesting investment and a potentially heirloom collectible. But if you're telling me that things like Stacks, the Lightning Network, things are going to start to evolve in the system that allows us to use Bitcoin in a varying different ways, then yes, you'll see way more institutional ownership. And by the way,
all right, so you go to the
he's saying something very, very interesting. And this is kind of the vibe that we got out of Bitcoin Vegas. It's like, now that there's regulatory clarity, the whole play is taking loans against your Bitcoin while still holding the Bitcoin. And, we've seen more interest in kind of Wall Street Bitcoin plays than we've seen altcoins so far. But that did have a differentiation when we had March, of 2024, and AI came out and that initial hype. I think that the momentary hype for altcoins absolutely will be there. But it's about buying the altcoins at very, very low levels and not YOLOing in at the tops. I think it was Seth Shepard there in the chat that has a good point to remind us of how to play these, because Bitcoin's an easy play. Bitcoin's an easy play. It's here to stay. I've never been so sure that Bitcoin's here to stay, and the institutional interest is undeniable in Bitcoin. Now, things like Avalanche, you mentioned Avalanche is still down 85% from its all-time high. Absolutely true. Look at this. The all-time high, the Pico top, the hype to where we're at right now is 85%. But if you were using the signals that I just told you and showed you at the beginning of the show on Bitcoin, you'd have known and moved with me to hammer into Avalanche position September of 2023. Now, and this is data, and this is how I use the market. This is the same time frame that we saw that original Bitcoin green dot on the weekly, right? We've had 3 of them this market. This was the first one that I saw, and I took major advantage of Avalanche, Chainlink, and ICP in this moment. I actually stacked more things like Near and God, what was the other one? Honestly, I bought a lot of different cryptos at very, very different prices than where they're at right now. Now, at this signal moment, Avalanche was $10. It's currently still double what my original entry point is, but I've only, added Avalanche when we fell down into this, like the last time I added Avalanche, it was like $16. And I added a very, very small amount compared to what I bought right here. Just a little bit, because I figured that the market wasn't done in general. This is the top end of the channel. And when you approach altcoins, it's much, much easier to hold these things if you buy them at very low levels. And yeah, they can have moments where they explode and they move against Bitcoin, but those moments are very, very short-lived. This should be your almanac when it comes to altcoins, is understanding that their trend, all AVAX to Bitcoin, is trending towards zero, but that it has these months where it moves against Bitcoin in a very violent fashion. Like from that September moment to just a month or two later, it moved up against Bitcoin by 250%. And I used this almanac to sell the vast majority of the AVAX at $52 a unit. So use these as your almanacs. Understand that Bitcoin is the dominant force. I see a lot of people on X, they're like, oh, well, we can't, everything's just dependent on Bitcoin. It always has. In crypto, altcoins absolutely depend on Bitcoin to succeed. And so when let's see, are we back now?
We're back.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's
It is.
All right. But you know what? That was a little bit of a rant, but if we are in a bad signal for Bitcoin in aggregate, that's going to be bad for any altcoins. I want people to stop thinking about, XRP is going to overtake Bitcoin or all this stuff. Please just understand that Bitcoin is the ground of which crypto walks upon. If you're in a good season, then things are going to go well. Okay. If you're in a bad season, things are going to go poorly. And then I'll be shorting. So that's what I'm looking at. And now Coinbase is taking advantage of this good season, right? I do want to share my screen here. I'm glad we're able to come back. I'm glad we're able to come back here. Let's see. Share screen. Let's see here. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay. So this is the Coinbase commercial. And, I just want people to sit back and understand my mindset. It's a very, very long term for Bitcoin, and it is very seasonal for altcoins. And this is a good explanation why.
In 2012, you need 30,000 Bitcoin to buy this house. A decade later, it had only cost you 20 Bitcoin. And today, it could be yours for 5. If home prices keep falling in Bitcoin, why do they keep rising in dollars?
And this is the idea. It's like we get so skewed measuring Bitcoin in dollar terms. I measure it in how many Bitcoin does it take to get a house, right? And that's the whole thing here. And you know what? If I am able to buy a home off of altcoin profits in and of itself, and then leave the Bitcoin alone, that's the entire goal for me. I'm trading to get more Bitcoin. I'm trading for the long term because I'm trying to just grow this stack for my kids in general. And right now I'm very low on Bitcoin. I'm regaining that through trading and through basically, if I was a psycho and I was losing my mind about this altcoin season being a little bit sleepy, I'd be hammering more into the altcoins on their green days, but I'm not. I know that my entry points are good. I know that it's going to be okay. It's just a matter of time. And TJ was talking about patience this morning. That stuff matters quite a bit. On the Wall Street side, we talked a little bit about strategy and Circle earlier, at the end of last week. Circle was up by another 16% in pre-market this morning. Circle, in my opinion, is probably going to be the actual CBDC, and I think CBDCs are all but guaranteed because of how beat down the average person is. Let's actually go check out, because Circle is a stock I'm going to buy, and I'm looking for a rude low entry point, per usual. So Circle pumped up really good this morning. We were pulling back. You know what? I'm being careful about this. I want this in this OG range. I want this thing in 70 to 98 bucks. Yeah, I want this thing in this range. I think it can do it. I think we're getting the initial release hype. But I think that I can get an entry point in this. If I don't, I don't. Okay, that's fine. But I really want that entry point. Caleb got that entry point. Very, very good.
That's a good one.
World War 2008 bought it at opening. I think Circle's dominance, in terms of legislators, in terms of real world adoption, is undeniable. I think USDC is undeniable as a strong competitor. USDC and Tether seem to be the two main stable coins that really have some longevity in the market. Now, should one of the, like we saw Circle, it's tied into the traditional banking system. So if things start to break in the traditional banking system, that's where we got the 87-cent Circle USDC token over a weekend back in 2023. It was like March of 2023 during the banking collapse there. But very interesting to see Circle breaking out. Now, another project that we talked about is Mamo. This is Luke Youngblood, right? And this is the AI agent within Moonwell, was it, Isaac?
Correct. This is the founder of Moonwell. If you all remember when he came on the show, he talked highly about Mamo before it was actually released. And it's how it's working with their Moonwell card and all that stuff for the AI bot does yield, does a bunch of other things. I gotta look into
and it can do swaps. Having an AI bot, like that's the whole thing, is people have that barrier to entry from swaps, right?
Yeah.
If you could tell an AI agent to do it for you, stop it.
It just keeps on doing it too at good levels as well. But we talked about this, and we talked about before it released, actually.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy too. It released at 2.9 cents. It's at 7.6 cents right now, so more than a double up. Let's see here. It's been out for a very short amount of time. And again, like finding the right AI agent's very, very difficult. Moonwell is, part of the in club at Coinbase and Base. Moonwell is I think it's the only crypto project that you can actually get a routing and a banking account number.
Correct.
Through that's what's very, very interesting to me, how they've kind of wiped that barrier of entry away somehow, right? They know a guy. I don't even know how they pulled it off, because you don't see that anywhere else. But, Mamo is catching my attention. It's currently at a $21 million market cap. The volume is up by 100%. So I do actually kind of feel like, kind of mapping this out here, Mr. Isaac, because this one's got my attention. It's got my attention. I think old school level, probably about 5.5, maybe 6 cents is where I'd prefer. But I can see this thing's got some juice. It's a low market cap. This might be a little bit of a new exposure to AI that I can take here. That's one thing about this channel is, we talk about the projects. I don't YOLO into them until I really feel like there's some solidity to the chart. This thing's only been out for, 2 weeks or something like that. So we get that initial release phase that's going well so far. But Mamo is on my radar because I would definitely want to have just slight exposure to AI plays, just a little bit. You know, Seth Shepard said it best. There's so many out there. Mamo, one of the ones I got to watch out for. And here's the watch list from DeFi Investor for the week. Sonic's going to be unveiling that S2 airdrop. Virtual's commerce protocol is launching soon. This will allow AI agents to interact and complete on-chain tasks. That is a massive, massive deal. Now we're going to end up in Graphane's backyard, but I'm going to start here.
Damn it.
I'm going to start here with virtuals. So let's go here. We're up on the day, up 6%. Week down. So it's flat on the week, flat on the month. It's got a shelf. We got a shelf.
That's a good shelf. That's a buying shelf to me.
Dude. Oh my God.
Actually, I probably went for like a $1.40.
Yeah, let's map this out a little bit here because this looks like a shelf here. And I'm underexposed to AI plays. $1.40, you'd be breaking that higher lows setup, but still generally on the shelf. $1.40 is some previous support right here. Isaac, you're learning all kinds. You're calling out shit, shooting from the hip. Look at you go. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. Virtuals is, because we were just at like $5 a unit. This thing peaked at $5 a unit at the beginning of 2025. I don't think the conversation behind AI or AI agents is over by a long shot. It's just there's so many out there. I gotta be. So we're gonna do this. I'm going to draw out. My preferred entry is about like $1.40, $1.50. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it there. It's gonna be fine. Gonna be fine. There. Sensational. All right. Now we're gonna move on to the rest of this watch list here. So Home Depot token DeFi app release its token Home on June 10th. BTC, the SEC will host the roundtable on DeFi June 9th. This is the play here. The government just wants that yield, man. They just want that yield.
All the banks want it, man.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Huma deposits for Huma 2.0 PayFi network open on June 11th. Spark will soon have a native operability on Sky, becoming cross-chain. Isn't Sky Maker? I think Maker just rebranded. Let's go here. I think see what I'm noticing in the common theme here is a lot of DeFi movements this week.
Sky, I think it. Oh yeah, that's the Maker rebrand.
Yep. Maker has been rebranded to Sky. Okay, so I'm seeing a common theme here. A lot of conversation and regulation talks about DeFi. Shout out to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. Are they in the chat? I hope they are. Veteran is working hard for you guys on that side. eGold, hate this project, never touching this one, hate it. And Aptos, this one's kind of interesting to me. $53 million in Aptos will be unlocked June 12th.
Nice.
There they are, DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. Make sure to follow, subscribe to the channel, you guys. They talk in depth about all the new DeFi platforms, how to utilize them. Excellent to have them part of this network here too. Because in this season where Altcoin's been a little bit sleepy, I've been able to trade great upside. Vet and Jeff at DeFi Crypto and Airdrops are able to earn yield and have that great upside as well. There's always a way to make money in crypto, even in the boring times. And you know what? DeFi and shorting the market, especially in the bear markets, is very, very, very helpful to keep that stack growing there. So now Deutsche Bank is exploring stablecoins and tokenized deposits, including its own token, or joining an industry initiative. So Deutsche Bank thinking about rolling out their own token or just joining a current rolling initiative. Very, very interesting conversation coming out of Deutsche Bank, one of the systemically important banks across the planet. And we have this, the SEC is ready to approve NASDAQ crypto US settlement price indexes that are going to include Solana, Cardano, Stellar Lumens XLM, and XRP as of June 2nd. So this went down. They're getting ready to roll out. They're getting ready to build the infrastructure for price tracking of these altcoins. And I am watching out for some ETF approvals for particular altcoins. Like I know that there's a lot out there for Solana. There's a lot out there for XRP. morning, Boogaloo Bum. So I'm watching out for this stuff. And now Apple, X, Airbnb, and Google, this came out just right before the weekend kicked off. They're getting ready to integrate stable coins. And this is a larger signal, in my opinion, and I agree, to big tech moving into crypto payments amid this U.S. policy shifting favorably towards the crypto industry. And this is the Genius Act. It is on the edge of being approved. We watched the Cynthia Loomis bill conversation Friday last week, and she's all, yes, we need to push forward the Genius Act, but also because we need to compete with China because we're about to go to a hot war with China. Not great. Not great to see that kind of tapped on to the top end of there. Now, the signal that the government is printing in stealth is the U.S. Treasury just bought back $10 billion of its own debt, the largest Treasury buyback in history in a single clip. There is a lot of pressure on the Treasury markets. And, just a side note, as we wonder, the mortgage rates compared to the Federal Reserve rate, like the Federal Reserve rate's gone down and they're trying to keep it low artificially to refinance the debt at lower levels. But the home mortgage interest rates have actually been going up, and they're tied more closely to the Treasury industry, and it kind of clicked out. I was talking to Vet's buddy, and we were talking about it. He was talking about the correlation of Treasury interest, the value you get, the 5%, the 6% that you get back from a 10 or 30-year note, more closely tied to the home interest rate rather than the Federal Reserve interest rate. So just a side note on that for anyone that's playing the mortgage market as well. Trump is getting ready to announce Jerome Powell's replacement as a Fed chair very, very soon. This is chaos. This is absolute chaos. Now, Isaac?
Yes, sir.
Think the market's going to tank if Jerome Powell makes a step down from political pressure and we have to find a new Federal Reserve chair? Or would that be a bullish signal for the market? What do you think?
I think, because I know some people were talking about it in the beginning of the show in the chat here, saying that the person who's been robbing our alt bags is Jerome Powell, because he hasn't been. We were supposed to have a rate cut this month, and it didn't happen. I mean,
I know that's the conversation.
That's the conversation.
Bitcoin and strategy have been robbing our altcoin bags. Bitcoin's play on Wall Street, I think, has played into that altcoin lull. I think it's going to come back and it's going to happen at a point, but I don't think it's Jerome Powell's fault, man.
Yeah, I don't think Jerome Powell or any Fed chair is robbing your altcoins, and it doesn't have a insane. It only has an insane move on the markets is when we have rate cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other than that, it's just like a FOMC pump dump.
Mm-hmm.
That's
we have FOMC coming up in a few days here. Fed CME. 14th? Let's go look. I think it's 6 or 7 or 9 days. Okay. So we got a Fed rate decision in 9 days. They're going to keep it flat. I see a lot of people misspeaking on X saying that this means that they're going to cut rates. This means they're going to hold rates. The current rate is 4.25 to 4.50, 99.9% surety that they're going to hold the interest rates flat. Looking
fucking brains.
Yeah, well, we're just here to clarify. And now looking forward to July, a large amount of market participants think the same for July. So more edging, more beatings until morale improves. And then September is where they're actually looking for that first 25 base point interest rate cut. I know Trump's been calling for the 100 base points, but this is what the market's actually showing here. Then you get to October, a slight chance of another 25 base point, but only one. That's heavily felt in September so far. And then we get into the likelihood of another one actually happening in December. So the markets basically think September and December are going to be the two 25 base point rate cuts that we see. And at a point, I know in my heart of hearts that they have to cut the interest rates, but it's a matter of when. And the longer that the U.S. can hold off on cutting that interest rate and watching countries like China or other macro players cut their interest rates ahead of us, the country that cuts last wins, as TJ said. It's exactly what's going on right now. So now a little bit more on the housing market. The housing market has reached the most unaffordable level in history.
Bullish.
Yeah, this is quite painful for the average person. And this is why I crypto, guys. This is why I crypto. is because, housing, it's absolutely insane. The interest rates are high. There's nothing more enjoyable to me than turning internet funny money and altcoins into real estate or vehicles or guns. That is probably the most enjoyable thing. And also the fact that we can self-custody them. Where's my Arculus?
You know what?
There it is. Get you one of these. This thing is amazing. It comes in this packaging. Let's see here. Bam. Get your metal card. Get your seed phrase card. This one's undone, but I just opened it to be able to show people. It comes with this little pamphlet thing and the best customer service out there. So, I really appreciate Arculus supporting this channel. If you guys don't already have a cold storage device, this is one of the easiest and best cold storage device to use on the planet. So
let's run this MIDI.
Oh,
The Blockchain Basement is powered by Arculus. This is the world's leading crypto cold storage where you can easily secure, buy, swap, send, and receive all your crypto with a simple tap using 3-factor authentication to make sure to keep your assets safer than ever. Make sure to support the channel. Use code BASE10 and click the link down in the description to get your hands on your security today.
I'm back from Barbados. It was a great trip, but now we're back in, Island Boy.
No, I didn't come back to have the Island Boys come back. Okay?
Island Boy. Oh, man. Are the Island Boys located in California? Does anyone know where they're? Are they
Either
Hawaii?
Cali or Florida?
They've got to be
Hawaii.
Cali. Isaac, while I'm running through the stories, can you please look up where the Island Boys are located out of?
Why not?
Miami? Okay. So we're closer than I thought if they're in Miami. Unbelievable. All right. So this is a painful story. $1 billion in fraud. It was a scheme exposed by the Federal Student Aid and Fixes Coming. This is found by DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Now they're cracking down mandatory ID checks for all first-year aid recipients starting next week. Tech upgrades coming before the next loan season. The real scandal is that it took this long to shut this backdoor down of fraud. There's been so much fraud been going on, and I really feel that Elon Musk is pissed about how much time he wasted finding all this fraud, and then they just don't even vote on it. They're just like, that's crazy to find. Good work, buddy. And also, this is aggravating. Kash Patel talking about Epstein Island videos of elites committing crimes is speculation. The FBI has gone through all the footage, but then Pam Bondi says there's tons of footage and verification of this. Kash Patel also says that we need to be hand, foot, and mouth connected to Netanyahu. It's clear where the connections are. It's clear where the loyalty lies. It's not necessarily, to me, doesn't look like Cash's loyalty is to the American people. It looks like it's to Netanyahu. That's just my personal take. Now, Russia got hot and heavy this weekend in Ukraine as well. These are escalations going on, and the markets didn't even wince at this news, which is kind of a big thing to take note of, as this is a major escalation. It really doesn't look like their air defense systems are working at all in the Ukraine at this point. So my prayers are out there for that. And, just some historical stuff for you guys to look into for yourself. Tengu, ancient demons of Japan. Interesting stuff can be found with these ancient demons of Japan. Look in for yourself. Can't get into that any further.
I want to so bad.
I know. President Trump says Elon Musk will face very serious consequences if he funds Democrats. Makes no sense because he openly accepted funding from Musk as a Republican. And that's ridiculous. Okay. That's ridiculous. He could, we've had Soros and Gates doing all their funding. We finally had a big Republican funding round from Elon Musk on the Republican side. It's pretty open to both sides here. This is where the conversation gets a little weird in our current political atmosphere. And Elon Musk basically left the U.S. politics sphere looking like this, with Elon Musk smiling and being the goodest of boys. Isaac, pull this up here. Look at this. And then U.S. politics in the background. This is Elon Musk. This is Elon Musk going and you know what? He's an autist. He's emotional. He's smart as hell. And he realized that he was trying to fix a system that wants to be broken. Now, other things that just seem like they want to be broken have been California. Los Angeles, we have massive protests, and this is absolutely insane. These are police vehicles that have been basically demolished by protesters, and they've invented a new use case for the leaf blower here. Look at this guy. So he's using a leaf blower to try to get the tear gas away. We've seen a lot of protests and a lot of escalations go down in Los Angeles. They have also burned about $700,000 worth of Waymo autonomous vehicles here. It does not look too peaceful to me. These GTA graphics are sick, bro. What the hell?
Is this the new GTA 6?
Oh my God. And now, so Set, this is a great question. Why are they protesting? Now, the why of the protest in particular gets very convoluted. In this particular instance of these protests, there is a larger conversation that they want to stop ICE and the mass deportation program to actually move forward. But really, what we see here is a giant trap. I think that this is a giant trap. And I completely agree with this advice given, but this is in relevance to what we're going to see likely over the next few weeks here in the United States. And I will say this. If you are in a city center, you need to get out. You need to get out of a city center. Major cities, Los Angeles, New York, Atlanta proper, Seattle, any major city center, Denver, they're all about to get very hot in a non-organic way, in a way that has been paid for in the background by the same organizations that fermented the summer of love. So let's go to this guy's take here. I really like this guy's take. And it's just about, this is about not falling for the bait, Isaac, okay? This is about not falling for the bait. So let's check this out.
All right, so let me explain what I believe is happening and why they want you in a civil war. So in the next couple weeks, these are being planned right now, very well funded, very well organized. At a city near you, we're going to have a riot. It's not just protests, full-on riots. And if you watch this video, what's happening? Why aren't the police doing anything? Why aren't they stopping and arresting these people? Well, most of these agencies where these riots are happening are liberal-led agencies. They are, in my belief, telling them to stand down. Why? Why are they dropping off bricks? Everywhere across America, they're dropping off these.
And y'all remember when we saw the bricks being left in the summer of love, and also more recently, like every time we see a pallet of bricks across city centers, we know bad stuff's coming. And this is the same signal. We're seeing a dark funding of these riots coming in.
Dropping off these pallets of bricks. Why? Because they want to get violent and the police won't do anything. So then what? Patriots like you and I, it'll make us want to go in and fight. Don't do it. It is a trap.
Planted cameramen, planted, funded cameramen.
They're trying to suck us in so that all the patriots are going to go, and then we're going to marching right into their trap for the civil war that they want. So what's the answer as hell breaks loose and violence ensues throughout these cities? Are we going to go save their cities? They're already gone. So get a food storage, get right with God, get out of major cities when it starts getting bad. Do not fight with these people. That's exactly what they want. It's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. I promise you.
Yeah, I completely agree with this guy. It's, the city centers, the design of liberals in control of the DA's office, it all is pretty heavily weighted against patriots in the United States. Where we still have good control of is rural locations, places that are not already overrun. And that is where you can defend more strongly from. So let's see here. Did you see the Vegas madness? 2 YouTubers pew each other and 2 dead outside of the Bellagio fountains. Holy God.
We were literally there 2 weeks ago.
We were just there.
I have a video of the fountains at the Bellagio. That's
oh
crazy.
my God, dude. Yeah, I mean, this is a time, and this is why I've been really, really focused on taking control of our money through Bitcoin self-custody, knowing that we're ahead of the game when it comes to economics, but it's this nuanced conversation where I want people to kind of collapse now and beat the rush should things get very, very ugly on the civil unrest side. Because the question of why are they rioting is very, very important. It's, the front end, the conversation has been mixed together by the powers that be, that if you're pro deportation, then somehow you are anti-Gaza, right? They've combined these two conversations. So now what's coming up on the 14th of June is going to be the next iteration of this contrived storyline that they're pushing the American people down, where now it goes from the anti-immigration / pro-immigration riots, or battles, then on to anti or pro Gaza. And this is where the massive amounts of division and chopping the society into 50 different subsects of whatever side of the line that you end up falling onto really divides the country into pieces. So this is where I find a big problem. Like, in my opinion, I wish that we would actually overhaul and make legal immigration much more streamlined and concise of a process. And that is possible with the advent of AI and with the automation of systems. It is absolutely possible to make our immigration system better for good legal immigrants, because there is no denying that with the loss of births in America and the dwindling of our organically homegrown population, and it's not my fault. I got 4 kids. I've done everything I damn well could to grow the population. But the idea that kids are a burden and that people just want to live their best life and live out of a van, and they don't want to deal with kids, right? So they don't have a bunch of kids. They're not like me. Like, I'm looked at as an outlier in my current age demographic. And people aren't having enough sex. They aren't having enough kids that are natively born Americans. And if they are, then we get the psyop of abortion. So we are losing population on the native level. If we can increase and streamline the legal immigration process to bring good legal immigrants into the country, have them pay taxes, and have them be part of the broader economic system, that makes a lot of sense for me. Where we're at right now, it's, basically people have tried to paint me as like anti-immigration. No, I am very pro-immigration. Here's a crazy stat, is that immigrants that have a good, clean record come to America and behave better than native-born Americans. And they work harder because they have more to prove. Okay. But instead, now we are surrounded by illegal immigrants. We've had a border left open for 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer. And there is no telling how many people are in the economic structure of America without paying taxes and that are committing crimes at a statistically higher rate than native-born Americans. And we've got a mess on our hands. So it's just, Dizzy Gang said it too. It's like, I'm fine with immigrants being here. This country was based on immigrants, right? My family immigrated from Luxembourg to America. Like, I know my family bloodline doesn't start in America. We came from Luxembourg. We came here, and this country was built upon immigration. But it is really unfortunate for this conversation to be skewed to where people, like, if I'm in the line at a grocery store, people are going to look at me like, he doesn't like immigrants. Like, I love him. I have a uncle that he's not like a bloodline uncle, but he's Nepalese. You know, I grew up around Hmong, Vietnamese, Nepalese people. They're all my friends, and you know, they are great people. It is aggravating to see the conversation be, you know, they've got us fighting each other when really our focus should be on the fact that they are printing our livelihood into the ground. They are taking away your ability to purchase goods at an exponential rate while the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the poor get more violent against each other. And that is a horrible combination of timelines to be looking at right now. So this is why, you know, when I look at investing, when I look at how to handle my crypto bags, is very, very entwined with where I'm positioning my family, what I'm focused on, and how to better my life, right? And if you get to that point, guys, like I know it's hard. If you're in a city center and you're surrounded by all this crap, it's a mountain of an idea to think about how do I reposition my whole life. But I swear to God, if you think about it, if you manifest it enough and you focus on it, you can get it. You absolutely can. I was in a very, very tough spot, not just a few years ago. And I didn't understand really how I was going to get out of that situation. You can really take control if you manifest it, if you think about it enough, and you really, really trust your intuition. You absolutely can pull it off. This weekend was insanely good. Like where I live, I mean, you know, and I love Paulding County, kind of the border to Alabama. Maybe I'll inch a little bit closer to maybe like the Marietta, Kennesaw, but I'm always going to make sure I got land. Like I'm always going to make sure that I got land. I'm always going to make sure that I have top topography that I can control if the need should be there, because you know what? The world is getting crazy. Bitcoin's exploding upwards, but the emotions within these city centers is also exploding at the same time. And you have to take account of both. Like you could have a very, very good situation monetarily on one hand, and a very, very bad situation on a spiritual, you know, I guess economic, demographic level on the other hand. So what up, Drift, man? I had to talk about that at length because I know with this timeline really dominating and the clips, I mean, look at this clip. It's getting weird out here. This is a press conference with Mayor Karen Bass blaming the federal government for the chaos in Los Angeles. Let's have a listen to this.
We do not want to play into the administration's hands. We're working with officials, we're organizing resources, but what we're seeing in Los Angeles is chaos that is provoked by the administration. When you raid Home Depot and workplaces, when you tear parents and children apart, and when you run armored caravans through our streets, you cause fear and you cause panic. And
so she's trying to put the blame on the armed caravans, the ICE agents, and the enforcement agencies themselves. You know, this really, I mean, I'm no fan of a police state, but I'm also a bigger anti-illegal immigration person. Like I think that our police officers have been underfunded and undersupported for over a decade now. And honestly, if policing was done the way that it was in the 1970s, 1980s, we would probably have lot less problems because the police can actually get to work and start cracking some knees. Now, this is something as well. What the Bible says about immigrants coming to, foreigners will live in your land while gaining more and more power. While you gradually lose yours, they will have more money to lend you, but will have none to lend them. In the end, they will be your rulers. Now, I'm not talking about Mexico lending to the U.S. I'm not talking about Palestinians being the lenders of banks. And I think everyone that reads between the lines can understand the real thorn in the side of what was written thousands of years ago in the Bible truly is. I think the Japanese get it too. So now we've digested a lot of information. Our bags are cooking. Things are doing well on the, you know, general market side. But where do we go from here? Is this market cooked? Now, some things that have been worrying me on the altcoin side primarily have been, you know, I was thinking about what we saw last cycle with Ethereum. Ethereum kind of helped hoist up and really, really did well from the NFT craze, right? We had the NFT craze that hit the blow off top in September of 2021, but it really, really helped push Ethereum's price upwards. Now, in this cycle, we've seen memes be the squeeze. Okay, so let's go to Solana and just some main things that I'm watching out for. I talked a little bit about this with Kelly in the Discord trading group earlier this morning. But, you know, the main thing that really that stuck with me this week, or this weekend rather, that I sat and thought about for quite some time is Solana's graph and aggregate. And this is the weekly money flow, 2021 into 22. Okay, we're on our way back down, and then we experienced the bear market. Then Solana had a great run up and a great resurgence from, I think it was around like $10 at like peak pain here.
Yeah.
All the way on up to 290. And we had the Trump inauguration right at like the peak here of this money flow. So Solana has been very, very beaten down, very muted. Now, in my opinion, I think that this is a psyop. I think that this is a psyop by the market to get people to think that it's over. And what I feel like looking at this is that Solana will have a secondary green wave. Solana is what Ethereum was last market, this market. And so seeing the excitement, like this is Libra, this is a bunch of major memes losing their juice. But then I hop on over to what are the bigger gainers of today. And there's a lot of Solana action here. SPX 6900. SPX 6900, one of the bigger, meme plays that is trying to recapture this previous all-time high. It is a selective altcoin season for sure, but nonetheless, I feel like there's an absolute alt season that is still to come. Fear and greed is flatlined, and you know what? Looking at this, looks scary. Kind of feel like buying it, Isaac. I haven't felt like buying Solana a long time. I saw this on Friday. I was like, ooh, I got to think about this for some time.
Yeah.
I think AI is going to push Solana above and beyond where we expect it. I do. I really do. Like, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this, Isaac?
We always talk about AI and RWAs going side by side, which could be the faster climber up, who's going to outperform who. And as of right now, AI has that stance
absolutely
beating RWAs, because RWAs and these different like protocols and all the stuff that are like trying to tokenize real world assets are going to end up also using AI in their platforms, and they're going to continue to build their own AI as well.
Absolutely.
And Solana is like the stronghold of all these AI. Like I tell you, Graphane might be down bad at $50 million market cap, but Graphane is one of the biggest in the space next to virtuals and all these other like AXBT would even talk about it. But I mean, all of these AI run through Solana, and that's gonna, once these AI really starts like kicking off, you're gonna see Solana of like $400, $500, and you're gonna see major pumps from these things.
They prefer Solana because it costs like damn near nothing to run on.
Exactly.
You know, and it's very fast. And last time, so we looked at the signals here. So we have an internal red dot printing on the weekly on Solana. Looks scary. I just did some back testing. I mean, we haven't had many moments like this in Solana's entire history. We had an internal red dot print this week of, what is this, August 5th. So if you count like the Pico top to the bottom of this red dot printing, it fell by 30% or 25%. Scary, right? But in general, it ended up holding up really, really well. And this was in the headwinds of Pumped Up Fund and Bolex basically using Solana as exit liquidity, selling over $1 billion of Solana for Tether or USDC. But then, you had that, really what I feel like is that this signal is going to end up clipping to the downside a bit on the momentum, maybe getting me down to like the 130, 140 range. I'm going to start feeling like not only buying Solana, but trading up with Solana. I really think that that's something that I need to keep an eye on, because I'm getting enticed by Ethereum as well. I'm starting to get enticed by Ethereum and Solana in terms of trading. And Ethereum has been really, kind of edging us in this range for quite some time. For quite some time it has. Let's pull up the daily on Ethereum. I think Ethereum's kind of in that same spot where it's like people think it's over, it's done for. Meanwhile, BlackRock is buying it for weeks on end. Ethereum, I actually do, I could see us coming back up in that, at least in the short term, even if we stay stuck in this little flag pattern, coming up and hitting our head on 26.5 again, coming back down and just ranging in here till we finally get that federal rate cut, which looks like comes in September. So, we got some Rumble chats here. I want to go into the Rumble chat. I'm going to go into the Rumble chat. I'm not going to forget the Rumble chats, dude. We got a lot of Rumble people watching. It's been kind of crazy on Rumble. And, I balance all the communication realms. I was so used to the YouTubers. Let's see here. Go in. Holy God. Yeah, we have all right. So we got a question here. What is the best app to use to short and long crypto? Tried using Coinbase, but they need too much for a margin reserve. 600 in Bitcoin for every 11. I need $600 in Bitcoin for every $1 I trade. Glad you're back on Rumble. Kernels, I use I use LBank, and then sometimes I'm using 2bit. But I use LBank primarily, and both the LBank, no KYC. You will have to use a VPN, and then you have to take a trip down to Mexico to actually use it. But you know what? I like using LBank for that. I don't trade on Coinbase. Coinbase auto aggregates all of our information to 3-letter agencies that I don't forget, that I don't really prefer. And thank you for the reminder, Mr. Kernels. I will not forget Rumble there. You know what? We've already had 5,000 views on our Rumble show today, dude.
Oh, that's crazy.
Holy God. Thank you guys for the support. That is freaking awesome. But yeah, I mean, looking at this trading pattern here, ETH and Solana are starting to entice me a little bit. I do want to go over to Coin 360 and see where things are sitting at in terms of the entire market. I like to start my morning with this just to get the overall vibe here. Got to get rid of this, whatever the hell that is. So this is just a nice way to see an aggregate like hype. God, maybe I should, maybe I should start trading hype. You know what I mean? That Tau play is pretty good too. Tau is already up over $400 again. Jeez Louise. I don't hate Rumble, KZ. Jesus. I think the guys hate Rumble. You know what I need to do, Isaac? I should do the pop-out chat on... I'm going to do multiple pop-out chats. I'm going to do dueling pop-out chats here. So we get all of the juice. Perfect. Okay. So I'm looking at the market in general. I really feel like the upside is, it's still well to be had in this generalized bullish move for Bitcoin. I think what we're going to be seeing is Bitcoin hitting that 130. I feel like is absolutely obtainable in kind of the next month or two for Bitcoin. But as that happens, I think Ethereum and Solana are at least going to go play in their previous highs. Ethereum has an absolutely delicious looking shelf on it right now. And, taking a long out on Ethereum has been painful throughout the last few months for sure, but had a major signal of recapturing some dominance to Bitcoin, and now is printing that red or that green dot on the daily. And we didn't get that momentum wave to the downside, but look, this is the design I'm looking for. When I'm getting into a trade in general. And this isn't my emotions talking about Ethereum. This is just me looking for entry points here. So, all right, I'm going to have to keep the 15-minute up for ETH in order to get that momentum way to the downside and get a green. I think I had to get around this $22 or $2,500 range. Smack dab in there. If we could prove that as support, that'd be pretty juicy. So I'm going to be looking at this. Give Link some love. God, Link has been so aggravating, but I think it's at $14 right now. Let's go here. Link does need some love. You're right. Let's go on over to Chainlink here. We're at $14. And see, it's aggravated me, even though I'm like 3x or more from when I where my average buys are on Chainlink, and I'm still aggravated, which is, you're in the red zone this is a buy zone on the year. I think we're definitely still in a bull market. If anyone doesn't have, exposure to any Chainlink, I think that's for me, I'd feel like that's a mistake for myself. Let's see here. Higher lows across the board. I think a Chainlink pretty easily could hit that $100 level this market. Let's go to the weekly. We're just mapping stuff out. I hate your theory, Crypto Stevo, and I think you're going to be slightly right, but I'm also going to be slightly right. I think it's going to land in the middle. It's like it's one of the most bullish utility tokens out there. If it's got diminished price action, I think you're still going to pump beyond previous highs, but the multiple $100 Chainlink, I mean, look how far away that is. So really when I'm looking at this, like when I break above, if we see Chainlink breaking above this $55, $52 realm, I mean, maybe it keeps going. But this is the thing. Let's look at this. So, because it's been Bitcoin's market, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this as a family. So, Bitcoin's sitting here at 2.1 trillion. Ethereum at 300 billion. Okay, Ethereum is not even at its previous highs in terms of market cap. Bitcoin, okay, in the same time that Bitcoin is at $1.1 trillion last cycle, Ethereum was at $500 plus billion. Ethereum is at 300 while Bitcoin has doubled that. It is a Bitcoin dominated moment right now in crypto, and that is undeniable. When these markets, I think Bitcoin's going to end up in the 3.5 to 4.5 trillion dollar market cap range. And it is of my opinion that the number 2 spot in aggregate of rise with diminished returns accounted for, Ethereum would be landing instead of 500 like it did last cycle. I think Ethereum would be hitting around the $800 billion mark. Not breaching a trillion. I think in a diminished Bitcoin dominated environment where Bitcoin is above $3 trillion market cap and the real hype starts kicking in, the searches start kicking on, a bunch of people start coming on that have never been in crypto and they're asking me all the questions, all the retail questions. I think the number 2 crypto project, which in my opinion will be Ethereum, will go to $800 billion market cap. Then number 3, now this is the discussion, can XRP hold this number 3 spot? It is being nipped at the heels by BNB and Solana. But I am of the opinion that number 3 will come in at around a $500 billion market cap. So if XRP is able to hold that level, let's just say for, game theory, if XRP is able to hold number 3 and hit that $500 billion market cap, then you're getting the $5 to $6 per XRP token. The thing about XRP that's painful for holders over the next year is that about 1 billion tokens are slated to come out onto the market, and half of them historically have been sold right off the rip, and the other half have been put in escrow. So that's going to diminish the return if XRP does hold this number 3 position. And then number 4, then we get into the $300 billion range, 250 likely for number 6, and so on. So this is just to show you. And so with this same price comparison, if Chainlink should hold around the number 11 crypto project and hold around this range, I'm looking for number 11 to be around like the one about 150 up to $180 billion market cap. And with the size of market caps that these are, like, I think SWI will be in that same regard. SWI, I think very strongly is going to keep the limelight on it. This is where having lower market caps and buying low levels for altcoins has extreme power. So we're going over to here, and I'll just show this just because I just talked about XRP. So they got another 10 billion tokens coming out. So it'll be around 68 billion tokens circulating by the end of the year. And let's say they do a great job and hold that number 3 spot, and we see an aggregate rise of altcoins and bringing it to the $500 billion level. Then you get the $7, right? $7.59. That's if it holds. I actually am of the opinion that XRP is going to end up around the $300 billion mark. and that'll bring it to the 450 level. But XR or Chainlink, let's look at the same thing for Chainlink and then SWI. I'll map out SWI just to show you guys like how violent this market moves at a certain point for a few months each cycle, and then it all crashes back down and Bitcoin gobbles up more dominance. So Chainlink's going to be around 700 million circulating. And if it can hold right around number 13 to number 11, you're looking at 150 billion as a, Jesus Christ, that'd be crazy. That's if it can hold. That's if it can hold. And we see like a reasonable rinse and repeat. Now, diminished expectation. Let's look at the diminished, like around the just breaching barely the all-time highs, $46 billion market cap. I mean, it's at like a 13 right now. Let's see where it's at. Oh, it's at a 10. Yeah. So if you get a 4, maybe a 4.5x of the market cap, then you end up with that price action. That's still great upside in comparison, because we're looking at like the bullish case for XRP is accomplishing these same levels of upside. I am more of the opinion that I think $100 billion market cap is very attainable for Chainlink, and that breaches us above the $100 level. So yes, I'm still heavily overexposed to Chainlink, but you know what? I'm crazy. I've been in this market for a few times now. I've seen what it's capable of doing. I've studied Bitcoin since 2017. We got in, we ported. My wife convinced me to put our life savings, not just a couple $1,000 or whatever, into the market. And we only, we didn't have much to fight with. I was actually, when I originally looked at Bitcoin on March 14th of 2020, I was like, I'm going to try it out like $300-500. She's like, no, full ass, babe. Never half-ass anything, full ass. So that's what we did. And during that time frame, I learned that altcoins can absolutely outpace Bitcoin, but only for a short period of time. And it's important to take profits during those periods of time. Like when you feel like taking the snapshot, then you need to remind yourself it's okay to take profits. It's okay to better your life. It's okay to get more Bitcoin with those. Let's go take a look at SWI now. SWI is at number 12. It's definitely got the limelight on it. It's got a lot of new users, a lot of transactions happening on SWI. It had major FUD come and honestly shaked it off without a problem. So we're at $3.36 a unit. It's at $11 billion market cap right now, 11.5. And by the end of the year, it's slated that half of the tokens will be in circulation. So you should be at about a 5 billion tokens in circulation level. And this is if everything goes according to plan of the white paper. Now, within the white paper, it's important to note that this tokenomic design is subject to change depending on network security. Absolutely. Full stop. That's what it says. But as things are set right now, it should be at 5 billion tokens circulating. So if we look at this and it can hold around the 11 to 13 level, even in a diminished environment, you could be looking at a $20 SWI level. Now, if they decide to keep if they decide to release all the tokens according to network security, that's where you get diminishment in your upside. It's about $10 a unit. So it is what it is. This is why market cap sizes matter. And this is why understanding where we're at in the market matters, because entry points determine upside for me when I'm getting in to a different project. It's like, sure, everyone can be super bullish on it. Kind of the same situation like Hyperliquid is. But if Drew, is buying Hyperliquid when it's been literally up only for months on end, usually I lose in those trades. And I've just learned over cycles time frame to not do that and to just research the best things and then understand that they're high risk investments. I understand that these are high risk investments. They're just the whole goal, the season that I'm in, is to gain more Satoshis by having access or holdings of Chainlink. My entire portfolio is in the Discover Investments Group Discord. I've added some crazy plays that have had 100% moves over the past few months here, which feels good. It feels good to have those things. This is the pain of XRP. XRP has infinite sell pressure from its own treasury, right? And they use that own treasury to fund the next play for Ripple, right? So if you are must on XRP's ecosystem, the real ecosystem is Ripple, and Ripple has a lot of random connections with banks and all this crap going on for it. So as you see crypto become more here to stay, Ripple has enough money to pivot to really any sector that it really feels like with that amount of money. Let's see here. Dave Middleton, I've been weaseling out of my HBAR bag, converting into Bitcoin and ETH, a little on AOZ. Not a bad play. I mean, HBAR has been up. It's been moving to the upside here. But when I'm seeing these markets, you guys, like, we're having a pretty good day today. It's hilarious. Altcoin nonstop is the number 3 gainer, up 8%. I want to know what VZ Fat Cat thinks XRP is going to go to. I do want to know, because I care about you as a person. What is I want to know what level, because I'll show what market cap level it needs to get to. Now, Radium, see, there's a lot of Solana plays here. Lots of Solana here. You notice that, Isaac?
Yes, sir.
Solana's
on top. Always
Yeah,
will
man.
be.
ICP trying to make me regret yeeting it. I'm not going to regret eating it. I'm not going to. Dog with Hat. I think Dog with Hat's even Solana, isn't it? What is this? Yeah, Dog with Hat's a Solana. So, like, you see a lot of these Solana plays on the top end here. Athena is one that I never filled up the bag to, but it's a good RWA play. It's been kind of a sneaky one. It has not broken out of these levels yet. Ooh, freaking Walrus on Sui. That's a good reminder. Oh, man. I'm sorry to hear, VZ Fat Cat. Jesus. What coin would you put $100,000 into right now? Man, that's a good question. Me, what I've been doing with the tether I've been winning, for the tether that I'm not keeping actively on the trading, I've been buying Bitcoin. I've been buying Bitcoin, man. So we have active. I mean, if I didn't have a fat bag of altcoins, then I'd be interested in adding more altcoins. I still feel very, very strongly about Morpho, Aerodrome, Ondo, Chainlink, Avalanche. Those are ones that, in the altcoin sector, I feel very, very good about. All right, so VZ Fat Cat thinks it's going to be in the double digits by Christmas. That would mean
what, XRP?
It means it's got to hit the $1 trillion market cap. If that happens, Chainlink is going to be at 300. So, if that happens, if XRP hits $10, Chainlink is going to be breaching multiple hundreds of dollars.
If XRP hits over $1 trillion market cap, I will sell one of my kidneys.
Yeah, for what? More XRP when it's like $10 a unit?
No, just out of spite.
Just out of spite? Oh no! Oh no!
And then I'll throw it all on it. Chainlink.
Honestly, bro, if XRP were to hit $10 a unit, then the top 10 would be made up of like 250 billion dollar market caps on it. Like literally, full stop. Look at this. Look at this. Let's do moon math just in hopes. I think that'd be hilarious if XRP hit $10 a unit. We'd be $700 billion market cap. That'd mean Ethereum is breaching $1 trillion. That would mean the top 10 are made up of like $200 billion on up. And this is like the hope that I had originally when like we first embarked into this altcoin sector. But really the proof is that Bitcoin has been moving to the upside, strategy, all these Wall Street plays, and altcoins we have to take into account the diminished upside, So it is what it is. And yeah, we're in a reset point. We're at a pretty low point in a lot of good projects. But if you're getting into them, you better be prepared, man, because it has been very, very dominated by Bitcoin. So, let's see. If you put a gun in my head and ask me which coin would you want to buy, XRP or Chainlink, XRP in a second. That's your call. That's your call, baby. Your call. And you know what? I think XRP is going to go up. It's just about how much it's going to go up is the question. And then do we have the nuts to jeet them when we are gaining Bitcoin Satoshis, like XRP to Bitcoin, Chainlink to Bitcoin? Those are the graphs that matter the most for us, especially Solana to Bitcoin, all of those. Keep those very, very close to your chest. Pay attention to them week over week. Bitcoin, as it sits right now, is trying to be a wild bird. Bitcoin pumped up to 108,177 while we were talking. Absolutely ridiculous. God. Max Payne. Up only, baby. Max Payne, up only. So, with that being said, you guys be safe out there. If you are in city centers, the whole goal here is to improve our quality of life for our family, for our loved ones, and to grow in prosperity. I think that we're looking down the right realm. Crypto, AI plays, and honestly, like, the Wall Street side has got great plays in Bitcoin access, but also the nuclear industry, I think, is going to be a good one. Nanotechnology, there's tons of ways to make money in this industry. It's just about having the fortitude to buy early while it's unpopular and hold and jeet it when it's to the upside. Take more Satoshis out of the system. So I love you guys. I appreciate you for joining me on the show today. I'm going to go feed the kiddos now, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.